Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. I finally finished up another GYG book, Give Yourself Goosebumps, which is kind of a choose-your-own-adventure book. If you guys don't know what that is, of course you read the bottom of a page, and it gives you new instructions to either go forward or backward in the book. You get two paths, that kind of thing, typically. Sometimes they have more than one. And this time around, I read Give Yourself Goosebumps number 38, Into the Twister of Terror. This may very well be one of my most I'm not looking forward to reading that book types of books ever because of the cover. Look at how cheap and Microsoft artwork that cover looks. Look at the coloring on this thing, man. Look at this poor dog here. I mean, it's already an ugly format because of the borders on these covers. I think I've talked about that before. I think a lot of us have discussed that before here in the comments sections, but the actual cover art for this is just plain ugly, and I have to tell you, it really doesn't do the book any justice, because the book itself, I really dug. I thought it was actually a really solid read. Nothing amazing, nothing great, but as a recommendation for a GYG book, yeah, if you like these, this is something you should check out. Into the Twister of Terror. This is apparently, if I'm remembering correctly, this is one of the difficult ones to find, kind of like One Night in Pain House, and I could be wrong about that, but I'm fairly certain that's what it was. This one was a little bit trickier to find. Nothing too bad. I think I got it for like 10 or 15 bucks on Thrift Books right here, but still. So what is this one about? Well, I keep forgetting the title. Into the Twister of Terror is essentially a tornado story, or a twister story, if you want to call it that. What's the difference between a twister and a tornado? I don't know. I think there is none. I could be wrong, but still. So this book has a lot of different elements, references, a lot of different things like, and when I get to this point of describing these references, you're going to think I'm nuts because I also mentioned it's a tornado-focused story. You have references to things like Peter Pan, to mainly Wizard of Oz. You have references to Tornado and Steven Spielberg. And when I say tornado, I mean like the movie Tornado from back in the day, or Twister, that movie as well. And like I said, Steven Spielberg. There's a lot of 1990s and 1980s throwbacks, of course, The Wizard of Oz being way older than that, with the Frank L. Baum book coming out like 1901, I think. It was a long time ago, or 1920, I can't remember. I've read that book, it's a really good book. What is this book about? Well, of course, these books are written as if it's about you. I think somebody's told me it was second person, I think is what somebody said. Anyway, you're in a situation where all of a sudden a twister shows up where you are at. You live on a farm with your aunt and uncle because your parents died years ago. And they pretty much raise you, and a twister comes through, you panic, you tell them, hey, let's get to the basement outside, let's hide, and your dog Yo-Yo, yeah, like Toto from Wizard of Oz, Yo-Yo, whoever looks at a dog and calls it Yo-Yo, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be. You go out panicked because Yo-Yo runs away, basically, in the middle of this crazy storm. And you have a choice at the beginning of the book to either get in the shelter with your aunt and uncle and stay there, or to go chase down Yo-Yo. And that's really kind of a lie. You know, a lot of the time, like I said, you have two paths on these books. And this one is kind of that, but kind of not. It kind of has two paths, but kind of not. If you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. But mainly the biggest portion of this book, like we're talking like 95% of the book, is, if not more, follow Yo-Yo into the storm and try to go save him. And this one gets real weird. There's a lot of supernatural stuff involved with some portions of this part of the book. There's another part that could debatably be supernatural but kind of isn't, involving talking animals. That's a little bit bizarre. It's a Goosebumps book. This is not trying to be some realistic Call of Duty type of thing. This is trying to be playful and silly and crazy and zany and adventurous. And to be kind of a small scale, we're in a small town where my farm used to be, cyclone, twister, craziness situation, it's kind of adventurous for what it is. There's kind of a lot of cool things. If you like 1990s storm movies, like I said, like Twister, or Volcano, if you like stuff like that, this is going to be up your alley, 100,000%, I promise you. A lot of people are going to miss out on something like this because they don't like the cover, and that's my biggest point here. Like I said, the cover does not do this book justice for how fun it is most of the time. I don't love the book by any means, but for how enjoyable it actually is, this is a pretty garbage cover for this kind of book, which I think it should be re-released, frankly. The fact that something like Please Don't Feed the Vampire, which I just reviewed right before this yesterday, The fact that that got such a massive, well, not a massive, but it got a re-release nowadays, and none of the other GYG books ever have, and especially that this didn't get a re-release over Please Don't Feed the Vampire, is kind of shocking to me, frankly. I'm not really sure what to think about that. It just kind of proves the point. A lot of the really good GYG books are kind of ignored and kind of forgotten about. But mediocre things are typically put in the reprint era, and I don't know why. Anyway, I had a lot of fun with this book. There's a lot of cool stories in here, one involving like a couple of people that you save from the storm, one involving another storyline involving a girl that you talk to named Wendy. Again, a reference to Peter Pan. There's some other references involving her. There's a whole story about like a doll that you have to get back to a very special cave that might have the spirit of the wind inside of it. I might be telling you a little bit too much. I don't want to tell you every detail of this, but there's so many cool references and little things in here, little things most people wouldn't pick up on unless they're about my age and grew up in the 90s and early 2000s and realize a lot of those references. This has some really cool things for just the right audience. If you're not that audience, I don't know if you're going to love it all that much. If you're looking for a scarier Goosebumps book, this has its moments. It's not extremely creepy or anything, but there's a couple of moments that actually did put a chill up my spine. Not so much involving the storm as a couple of things that were kind of just their own little thing off to the side, one of these little subplots and stuff. The endings you can get, of course, there's like 20 endings at the end of this book, or throughout the book. There's like 20 different endings, but I would say most of them are fairly enjoyable. Most of the subplots are fairly enjoyable, which is something I haven't experienced in a while in a GYG book, as I said in my previous review yesterday for Please Don't Feed the Vampire. I had a lot of recent GYG books that just really haven't landed the way I wanted them to. I've had a lot of misses recently, or just mediocre books, fine books, decent, above average books. I haven't really recently hit a whole lot of GYG stuff that's really impressed me a lot. And then some that have just been plain out bad over the last few months. And this one actually really surprised me with how much fun I had, how much I laughed throughout it. Quite a few times. In 133 pages, I was actually kind of, I couldn't help but crack up a little bit. It had some good humor in here. If I had to theorize, I would say this is probably one of those books that R.L. Stine didn't write. It sometimes doesn't feel like his writing style. It doesn't feel like the way his jokes would be told. Some of it can be more clever, some of it can be more subtle, a lot of it's not really. It has really good stuff in it, but overall, it is what it is. I really don't have much to say about the book. It's fine. It's above average for sure. It's a good read, better than something like Please Don't Feed the Vampire, which I also said was a fine read, above average. It has its moments. Is it great? Not really, but it has some really good stuff, and for the right person, it might be a great book, because it has a lot of good stuff in here for the most part. Now, like I said, if you're just looking for something to kill time with, this is totally a good one, I think. Anyway, that's all I really have to say about Give Yourself Goosebumps number 38, Into the Twister of Terror. Have you guys read this book? Don't you wish there was a different cover? If you have, I do. Because that cover is garbage anyway. Whether the book is good or bad, that cover's bad. I feel bad for people who would look at this and say, I'll pass, I'll wait off on getting that one. Anyway, this one was a really solid one for the most part. I really enjoyed it, as you can tell. And if I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I'd give it like probably a 4 out of 5 stars. It's kind of a low 4, but it's still a 4 out of 5 nonetheless. I think it really pulled through what it wanted to do. And the fact that almost all of the endings, I would say, maybe aside from maybe 1 out of 20 endings, was actually really solid, really good stuff. That's a lot. That's really saying a lot about these after what my recent experiences have kind of been with GYG and Goosebumps in general. That should speak volumes about how I feel about this. Anyway, what did you guys think about this one? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'd love to hear all that down below too. Again, 4 out of 5 stars. Really solid read. I recommend it. I have to go observe my list of ranking for when I do the eventual GYG ranking video. I'm not too far away from that. And hopefully I can try to, get that organized a little bit right now and add this to that list on my phone. Anyway, thank you guys for watching today. God bless you all. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm so happy about that. So happy. This has been a crazy week, dude. It's been insane. God bless you guys. Have a good weekend, and goodbye. Or I'll probably have a review for you by the weekend, I hope, at least. I'm going to try to have another review up in the next few days or so, but we'll see. I'm not going to promise anything. I try not to do that, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you guys. God bless you again. Goodbye.